My name is Georgina. I am a freelance writer and a journalist and the opinions editor at gal-dem. So I just wanted to come here and talk to you a little bit about my career, about gal-dem itself, and maybe give you some tips on just kind of starting out in the media and pitching and just like finding your own voice within the media landscape as well. So I wanted to start off by talking about gal-dem itself. I'm not sure if many of you know what gal-dem is, but it started in 2015 and it was founded by somebody called Liv Little at Bristol Uni. And it didn't start as a magazine, it started more like sort of a movement for women of colour. Liv was at university and she couldn't really connect with the kind of women that she wanted. She didn't see herself represented on campus, she didn't see herself represented, I guess, in the media as well. So she decided to start gal-dem just to bring people together. And at first it was just a movement, and now it's kind of evolved to be this like very disruptive, very exciting like editorial brand. So at the minute we've got over 55,000 followers on Instagram, 40,000 on Twitter, and 41,000 on Facebook. Our website gal-dem has thousands of users per month, and we also have an annual print issue. The last theme for that was secrets. So I don't know if anyone picked up a copy of that, but you can get it. I think for £10 in certain bookshops and online as well. So I just wanted to show you a video from Liv. She's just done a lot of campaigning to get investment to bring gal-dem up to the next level, because at the minute it's completely voluntary. So I'm voluntary, and like the hundreds of contributors that we have that write for us are also voluntary. But by March and April we're hoping to start paying our contributors, and we're also going to have a team of 8 or 10 that's also paid. So this is really, really exciting, and I just wanted to show you a little bit about where the magazine's going and why Liv founded it.
Like growing up, my mum put me in situations where, like, yes, I was not always in the like majority of be around people that were like incredibly sort of privileged. And she was like, I want you to be sounding of your voice. I want you to realize that your voice is just as important as theirs is, and as they're socialised to think that they're going to be the future kings and queens of this country. I want you to think I can do anything, I can take up space. I've always wanted to like make stuff happen for myself. So gal-dem launched in 2015, and it was really, for me anyway, at that time, I don't think there were any kind of grand plans at that point to turn it into business. It was more wanting to connect with other, at the time it was women of colour, in Bristol and beyond, but really like in Bristol, because I was studying politics and sociology there. I met like this extended group of people, so it wasn't necessarily like all the people who I met became like a part of the editorial team or the strategic team or anything like that, or that we even had that at that point. But it was really important in terms of visibility. There was something really powerful in us being able to physically see each other, to touch each other, to actually be present. I think that was really, really great. And then it launched in September 2015 at this little space in Bristol. It was just nice at that point to physically see this kind of community come to life, so not in terms of just the editorial, but in terms of like people that had come because they were interested in what we were doing, people that travelled down from London. It's also a nice testament to the fact that London doesn't have to be the be-all and end-all of creativity, because we were really, really well nourished and well loved in Bristol. It was a really wonderful place to start gal-dem. I think people are looking for alternatives to like the traditional modes of publishing that they know. I think they're looking for platforms which engage with their audience in a different way, in different ways that are about like the community as much as they are about like the actual content. And I think we're trying to build like a clear connection between the two. We're cultivating this online community, but also cultivating this in real life community. So in terms of like journalism, we know that that space is 94% white and 55% male, and there's this massive like kind of inequality that needs to be redressed. So I think there is no way that there's not going to be a need specifically for what it is that we're doing and for the gaps that we're filling. I just think we need to like reconceptualize what we think of when we think of publishing. Like, you have to find the right people, and that's so important. And gal-dem as a company would not be the company that it was if it didn't have those component parts who bring so much. And then I think as well, like, and this is mainly for women, I think, is like not being afraid to like fuck things up and to fail. Like, I think we're socialized from a very early age to like fear failure. And I don't think that is the same with men, and because of it you see often a lot of men progress a lot faster through these career streams and be a little bit like we should be bold in our assertions, and like failure is a natural part of setting up a business or doing anything. I think we have to be okay with that. Like things will go wrong. It's really important to listen to your intuition, like listen to that feeling more and more. I'm learning to listen to that part of me, and the more I listen to that part of me, that intuitive part of my being, I think the better my decisions are.
So yeah, you just heard from Liv as to why she started gal-dem and what it means, but I just want to take you through some of the highlights and some of the things that we've also done, as well as the print edition and as well as the website. So on the top right, you can see there, that was when gal-dem curated an exhibition at the V&A. That was, I think, 2 years ago. That did really well. Tickets sold out really quickly. Editorially, we've done some really exciting things. There was a skin lining series which made waves all across the media that the deputy editor, Charlie Brickhurst-Cuff, she curated. And there's also been interviews with people like Amanda Stenberg, and I've just done an interview with Nicola Adams, the boxer. So as well as the events, we've got some really exciting content that we put on the site and then in our print edition as well. A couple of things that I've been involved with since I've joined, because I've been in gal-dem for about 6 months. So the stuff that I just mentioned I wasn't actually around for, but a couple of things that have been really great since I've been here have been the Guardian weekend takeover. Don't know if many of you heard about that, but basically the Guardian was in contact with Liv and Charlie, and they were trying to push to take over the whole of the weekend magazine supplement. So usually the weekend magazine supplement has, content creators that are from the Guardian, but gal-dem took it over, and every single piece of content, every single picture, every single interview was actually by a woman or a woman of colour or a non-binary person. So that resulted in a huge spike in sales for the Guardian weekend, and they also put that edition online to be sold for the first time ever, because there was such a demand for people trying to get a copy after it actually sold out. So that was something really, really great to be involved with, and I wrote a feature for that edition on DNA testing and the ethics of DNA testing. We also had some great stuff like an interview with Michaela Cole, tips for women of colour when they're travelling, loads of amazing stuff. So that was something I'm really proud to be a part of, and something that we hope to repeat in the future, just getting involved and disrupting traditional media by taking over or having like regular slots within that. Something that we also did a few months ago was a pop-up book launch with Penguin. So Penguin basically will pay gal-dem to run a pop-up book launch to help promote Michelle Obama's book. So we didn't actually meet Michelle Obama, she wasn't actually there, but we were involved and helping promote her book through a pop-up book launch in London, and all the books on sale, as well as Michelle's book, were by women or women of colour or non-binary people again. So that was a really exciting thing to be a part of just since I've been there. And we've got loads of exciting stuff in the pipeline. We do a weekly book club on Tuesday. We've done brand work with Nike, with ASOS, with the bookshops, like Foyles, and there's loads of great stuff in the pipeline, as well as sort of bringing the business to the level where we can start paying people. So yeah, just these are the copies of the print edition, so the magazines that we've been running for the past 3 years. The last edition had 2 covers, so the yellow and the blue one there. That was the Secrets edition, and then previously with grey black on the front, the theme was home, and then prior to that, the first edition that they released, the theme was girlhood. So we've got a lot of amazing content, a lot of amazing contributors, lots of different themes, and with the 3rd edition that we've just released, that was the first time we had paid advertorial that would run in the magazine. So we're just thinking of different ways that we can strategize and like bring gal-dem to that level where it's a fully functioning business. So I just wanted to start off talking about my career and sort of how I got into gal-dem and like whether I did a formal journalism qualification and kind of what my routes been. So I went to the University of Warwick and I studied English, and then I just sort of started interning and trying to make a name for myself, because I didn't actually have any proper sort of like formal contacts in the journalism industry, and I didn't do a formal journalism qualification. So I started at somewhere called, I started at a few different blogs, but I won't even mention them because they weren't particularly fun. But the best parts that I did were the Debrief, Mary Claire, and a place called Bang Showbiz. So I did those 3 positions, and I also looked online for sort of different writing competitions and different ways that I could sort of make myself stand out. Back then, it wasn't sort of the time in which minority voices and sort of underrepresented voices were getting much traction. So I was at somewhere like Mary Claire, which was great, and I was there for 6 months as a digital intern. But I'd be pitching ideas that interested like me and my friends, and we'd kind of get turned away, or we'd get told to write about like Kim Kardashian's latest surgery or Justin Bieber's next girlfriend. And I realised it was a great experience, but it wasn't necessarily what I wanted to do. I wanted to focus more on things that interested me, social justice issues, travel issues. But as an internship, it was a great place, a really great place to start. So I was there for a while, then I won a writing competition to work at The Debrief, which was great, and that was a freelance writing position to be like their editor at large. So I had those things on my CV, and then after that I decided to go travelling and be a travel journalist. And I didn't really have any freelance experience, but I didn't have sort of, I guess, that lack of motivation either. I just wanted to see if I could pitch articles as I was travelling around and get some assignments. And I realised that the more I put myself out there, the more that was actually a possibility. So I started a blog, and as I was travelling around, I was writing about sort of the formation of my, I'd say, black consciousness as I was travelling to different black spaces. And that's quite a specific niche, but I found that it worked for me in terms of getting commissions. So I'd write about my personal experiences, and then when I was in different places, I would pitch sort of travel pieces as well. So places like Travel and Leisure, places like Vice, Refinery 29, I would sort of pitch to them different angles as I was moving around. So I went to Nicaragua, I went to Cuba, went to the Dominican Republic, went to some really great places, had a really great time, and then also started pitching to travel brands, so places like where you book a holiday or a tour. I pitched to Top Deck, and I pitched to Intrepid, and I got to go on some press trips. And the way that worked was I would get the brand happy to work with me, and then I would pitch to, say, Time Out or Travel and Leisure, and once they wanted the content and once the brand wanted the exposure and the two aligned, then I would like be sent on a really great press trip. So that was maybe the highlight of my travels, going to these places and writing about them, and also like blogging as I went around. And then I decided to come back to London and just look for, I guess, a traditional sort of journalism role. I came back, started writing in The Guardian, and I had a weekly column, which was amazing, about identity, about race, about different issues that affected people like me. And at the same time, I was working on a website called Go Think Big, which is sort of like a lifestyle portal for young people who are trying to take their next step in their career. So when I was at Go Think Big, I was doing stuff in The Guardian and then just pitching and trying to keep busy. That is now finished, and Go Think Big is also finishing, and I'm now working on my first book. And all that has kind of just snowballed after putting myself out there and pitching to different editors and just taking chances. So yeah, that's a little bit about me and how I've kind of come to have my career. Just some of the travel pieces I write. And yeah, when it comes to finding your voice, I think for me it's just been about putting myself out there and finding not so much a niche, but areas that interest me. The deputy editor of gal-dem, she's a really great example. Her name's Charlie. She's been freelance for years, and she writes on a broad range of issues that really, really interest her. So she could do features on food, she could do the opinion pieces, she could do news, and I've tried to sort of have that kind of career as well. Something that interests me might not interest somebody else, but it's fine to sort of, I guess, have that breadth. And if you're interested in travel, you can do travel, but you can also do opinion. If you're interested in news, it doesn't mean you can't have a sort of fashion blog or something else on the side to complement those interests. I know when I started out in journalism, people would say to me, you need to have a niche. And I think it is good to narrow things down, but I don't think you need to be sort of restricted in what you write and what you produce. And the way that gal-dem is as well, and the way that Liv, the editor of gal-dem, kind of conducts herself is that she has a TV background, but she's also kind of working at gal-dem to take that to the next level as a business. So there's no reason why in this kind of media landscape you can't curate different things from different areas and have bits and bobs in TV and things on the news and like things that you make on your blog. There's no reason why you can't just do a little bit of everything. So lessons that I've sort of learned along the way, I thought I'd share with you in case they would be useful. I think, the way that I've just had the opportunities is just to be brazen. I wouldn't have got a column in The Guardian unless I pitched to the editor, and then she happened to have a space for a columnist for the next few months, and she offered it to me, but I'm constantly pitching, I'm constantly contacting people and asking them if they're interested in this angle or if they're interested in this essay that I want to write. So I would say being persistent and being brazen definitely pays off. But with that, you obviously can't get too disheartened, because a lot of the time I'll just get complete silence for a lot of the pitches that I write, and that's just the nature of the industry, and it's just the nature of being freelance. So I'm going on a press trip tomorrow to Brazil, which I'm really excited about. But to get that organised, I must have sent like 30 different emails to 30 different brands, and I got a response from one, and they were willing to send me to the Amazon, but everybody else just blanked me. And like, if I got disheartened, I wouldn't have been able to kind of get this confirmed and get this all taken care of. So it's really, really difficult, but if you can keep going and you know that you can deliver the content and you know you've done it before, you can get people to believe in you, and you can get, I guess, content produced that you're proud of. When it comes to pitching, I'll go into this in a minute, it's good to be clear and concise. It's good to know the name of the editor that you're pitching to, it's good to do your research, but I'll just come on to that in a second. Someone once told me that you can only afford not to be one of these three things, so nice, excellent, and on time. But the way that the industry is now, I think you have to be all three, which is difficult, but if you're a great writer and you're a good person, then it should be no problem. And it's, again, finding a niche of your writing, I was saying, it's good to know what you want to write about, it's good to sort of have a direction, but don't feel that you have to pigeonhole yourself and solely stick to one thing. So I don't know if this will be useful to you, but I hope it will. It's about pitching and how to pitch to an editor, maybe how to pitch to someone at gal-dem when you're starting out and you don't necessarily have loads of contacts, you don't know how to write a pitch. Maybe you guys do, but I'll provide this anyway. Research. You'd be surprised how many pitches we get at gal-dem, and they're about something great, but maybe we've just covered it the week before, or they're directed to the wrong editor, and we still look at them and we'll forward them on to other editors, but it's really good just to know who you want to write for, what you want to write about, and just if it's been covered before, like someone would pitch something about the skin lightening sort of issues that are in the black community, and we've just done like a whole series on that, so perhaps that wouldn't be sort of the thing that we're looking for at the moment, but in the future, if they say that they've got ideas on that topic, I could store their information for later. But researching to the absolute max what you want to write about and who it's going to be tailored for is really important. Why you and why now? So by that I just mean if you're pitching a travel piece to the Metro and you've never been to that place before, you don't have any knowledge on the specific culture that you want to talk about, perhaps why would you get the commission over somebody that's a seasoned travel writer or somebody that's kind of the expert for that region? If you've got a news hook and it's something newsy, then obviously that will make an editor sit up and pay attention, but really, really think about why somebody's going to commission you and how you're going to sort of persuade them to get the commission over maybe other people that have got more experience or are more sort of in the know on that particular topic. When it comes to short pitching, I think that usually works a lot better than sort of a long, wordy sort of email. I would say no attachments, but that's just how sort of I've been working at gal-dem, and that's sort of what I've learned as a freelance writer. I would never sort of attach the document already, and I just try and sort of break down the key points that are going to be in the article and maybe summarise it with a headline on the top as well, and just say like, this is how I imagine the piece to be, this is the headline, these are the key sort of messages that have been within the article. Linking to previous work is always good, so it doesn't have to be professional, but it could be a blog, it could be something that you've written for uni, it could be something that you're currently working on, just something to show the editor that you can write and that you're passionate and that you've got interest. At gal-dem, we don't look for people that have sort of got all this experience and all this interning under their belt already. It's very much like a place for people to start and showcase their writing at the beginning of their career, so don't feel like you have to have those to pitch to us, because you don't. Also, when it comes to writing for pay, just know your rates, know what's normal, know what to ask for, and also know when to sort of ask for a pay increase. With freelancing, the rates are notoriously bad, but talking to other people in the industry, talking to your friends, trying to work out what your rate is and working out how much time you want to spend on a piece versus how much they're going to pay you, will save you a lot of time in the long run. So I've got friends that will be offered rates that sound great, but when they actually dive into the body of work, it's not going to be worth their time. So just know what you're worth, and also know that there's no kind of shame in walking away and saying no if it doesn't suit you, or if it doesn't align with your morals, or if it's not something that you want to do. So the future of journalism. you guys probably know a lot about this already, but the industry is really tough at the minute. There's been lots of cuts. There's been cuts in BuzzFeed, there's been cuts in Vice, there's been the Pool, which has kind of disappeared, the women's website, and also the Debrief, that's kind of changed and turned into Grazia. So a lot of websites and publications that are elevating minority voices and talking about the issues that we care about at gal-dem, they're going under. So it's quite a scary time to be taking this leap and to be sort of elevating and expanding the business and trying to turn it into a fully functioning company. But we know that all the people that we've worked with and all the brands that are interested in gal-dem, we think that there is a future, and the future is going to be changing and disrupting the media landscape and sort of elevating voices that have been previously ignored and overlooked and underrepresented. So we're going to try, and we're very confident that we can sort of make a change. But getting into journalism, it's tough, I won't lie. There's like a lot going on in the industry, and it's an interesting time, but it's also an exciting time to be a young person, to have voices that have just been ignored for so long. Finally, I think people are listening, so I'm hopeful for the future of the industry. And if you do want to pitch to me, or if you do want to ask me any questions, that's my email, that's my Twitter. Feel free to reach out with anything about rates or courses or gal-dem. And I hope some of this has been useful for you, so thank you very much for listening.
So, time for questions, please. Who wants to speak first off?
So you talked about the magazine being sort of, becoming like a sort of more fully fledged business. Where does, because obviously a lot online money to get, where is a lot of the money to fund it?
Well, you'd have to ask Liv, because she has been the one that has been, she's been working with business experts to come up with a business plan that is going to be, able to last not just this year but into next year as well. But a lot of the money that we do raise comes from the brand work that we do. So, as I was saying, when we got like a paid advertorial in the last print edition, that money will go straight back into the business. Every time we do an exhibition and say like the V&A, that money goes back into the business. And then all the little things that we're doing on the side, so like the book club, people would have had to pay for access to that. So that was money that also goes back into the business. And anything that we do brand-wise, also all the money goes back to gal-dem. So there's a lot of offers that come Liv's way, and she's sort of the business-savvy person that sorts it all out because she's founded the company. But she also turns a lot of stuff down because there's a lot of brands that maybe wouldn't align with gal-dem's values, and a lot of times she's had to sort of put things on pause because it hasn't been, the way that we wanted to run the company. But yeah, she's been speaking to business people and having sort of like a fully-fledged business plan approved by others before she can take it to that level. But also she's been pitching to investors, so that's the main way that we're funding it. We've got like 3 investors that are backing it at the minute, and hopefully a 4. Hey.
Hey, 2 quick questions. One, what do you plan on writing a book about? And also, because I want to start writing books, how is it hard to get published these days by a major book company, or is it just like, what do you put to go independent in terms of book publishing?
So I guess I've been somewhat lucky in that having a platform on The Guardian meant that I didn't have to pitch or find an agent or a publisher. So I got approached by an agent. She said, would you like to write a book? We've read your stuff in The Guardian. We think maybe you could do a book on it. And all my stuff in The Guardian was about race and identity and sort of like finding my voice. So it was quite a specific angle. And I think the book industry at the minute is a really exciting place to be because there's different sort of stories that are being told now that weren't being told before. So my specific story is of interest to maybe an agent or a publisher, so I've had to kind of just sit down and work with them as to how I'm going to shape it. So I don't know really, I guess the normal route for people is to pitch, write a proposal and find an agent that will represent you. So once you've kind of got an idea about what you want your book to be, you'd have to, I think, go and pitch to different agents and get representation. And once you have representation, it's a bit easier to be taken seriously, like by the major publishers. But the first step, I think, is trying to get an agent. And then, as far as I know, she said the best route is still to get a sort of traditional book deal. There's a lot of people that are writing books with Unbound, sort of the platform that makes you, like, I think, crowdfund some of your money for your book, and then at the end you get it back. But as far as I know, that only works if you've got like a huge social media following. So I think the normal route is to still try and get an agent and then work on getting a traditional book deal.
Talking about like at a certain point you can feel comfortable saying no to certain things that maybe like when you're especially with freelance, like do you feel like you can do that at any point in time, like for us as students who are hoping to get into journalism, or do you feel like you have to say yes to everything up until a certain point? Like I don't know if that would be money wise, or you're just trying to get as much work as possible. I feel like you should always like think about saying no as a possibility, or wait till a certain point in your career where you can't afford to say no?
It's an interesting question. It comes up a lot sort of on social media threads. Like, I think starting out, you can, I mean, there's not going to be like swathes of people like trying to contact you and be like, please write one, please. So I don't actually have all these emails in my inbox. I'm like, no, I don't feel like doing that. It doesn't actually work like that. It's more a question of, as I was starting out, I was thinking what kind of writer do I want to be? Like, there's jobs at the Daily Mail, there's jobs working for female, but do I want to be that person? Do I want to be clicking on those articles, producing those articles every day? And for me, the answer was no. So I'm sure that, yeah, my career has probably taken a hit because there's been jobs that I've looked at and thought about applying for, or articles that I could have written that I've decided not to do. So I think just when you're starting out, you always have a choice, and you always have a choice about what kind of writer you want to be. Like my friend Charlie, the deputy editor, she's a really good example of that. She just has a very kind of strong moral compass, and everything that she's produced has been sort of aligned with her values, and she's someone that I really look up to because she knows when to turn things down, and so does Liv, the editor. They know when they don't want to do things because it doesn't sit well with them, for example. And I think when you're starting out, you do always have choices to like what path you want to go down, and then as you get older, maybe you'll have more choices about what work you select and how selective you want to be. I think definitely when you're starting out, it's fine to have your boundaries because it's your career at the end of the day. If you don't want to go into a certain publication, if you don't want to work for the Guardian or the Mail, or it doesn't sit well with you, that's fine to not choose that. But then, of course, the flip side is, you might be thinking, oh, has my career stalled or have things gone slower because I didn't take the opportunity. But it's just trying to find that balance, I think.
Some more questions?
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
I think people underestimate the amount of time and work that goes into actually pitching for jobs and doing the social media side. At the moment, what sort of balance would you say you've got in terms of proportions between pitching and promoting and selling with social media and the actual writing of the piece?
Yeah, so the balance has been tough recently because working at Go Think Big, that's been close to being a full-time job, and then I've been working on my book proposal at the same time, and then when I had a column, that was getting done as well. So obviously any blogging that I did and any stuff to promote my own personal brand, that took a backseat first because those three things were kind of the forefront of my priorities. Now sort of taking a step back from a full-paid job, so I'll just be working on my book proposal and hopefully doing more of my personal stuff, so more blogging. A press trip that I'm going on tomorrow, that's like a freelance thing, but then I'll also, I guess, try and put that on my blog. But it's really, really difficult to find the balance, and pitching, yeah, that takes up so much of my time, just trying to get one of these trips or one of these ideas off the ground and actually getting the brand on side and then getting, say, someone like the Metro or Time Out to commission it. It takes a lot of emails, so you have to just, I guess, know how to balance your time, or know that you want to do that trip more than you want to do the book proposal for that month or something. So it's definitely tricky. Hi.
How big is your team?
At gal-dem, so we've got like, I think 8 section editors now, but we've got all of them, they've got assistant editors. But at the minute, when it gets scaled up into a business, we're only going to be able to pay 8 to 10 people. So all the sort of assistant editors, they're going to take a back seat until we get more investment or until we kind of bring it to that next level. So the team that's going to be paid at the minute will be 8 to 10 people. But at the minute, I guess the people that have contributed to gal-dem over the course of its life have been like hundreds. And none of us have been paid up to that point because it's just been a voluntary thing. So I think it's quite amazing that we've got a team of this size that has just been constantly contributing and constantly believing in the brand. But it's also, yeah, a shame that we can't pay more people, but it's a start, so.
I know you said, you started out by writing for competitions, writing for blogs, traveling and stuff like that. when I hear that, I hear confidence, you're a go-getter and all of that good stuff. But I think this generation, we're quite anxious, and maybe some might not be as confident. So what advice would you give to students that may not have as much confidence to just say, okay, I'm going to write for a blog, I'm going to pitch this to someone? Where would be like a good starting point for students who need that extra?
I think, yeah, I've gone into like some of the best parts of what I've done, but like interning is a good way to build confidence, and it's something that nobody wants to see themselves doing for a long time. But just by interning, I got feedback on my writing, I got confidence boost that way. I kind of be up close with editors, people who are senior, and just learn more about myself and more about the industry. So I remember interning at like a newspaper in the news section, and just thinking, oh, it's not for me because I don't want to be a news writer, but it was just experience that I could then bring onto my next internship, which was at Mary Claire, and I was like, oh, this is closer to what I want to do. But then it wasn't quite also what I wanted to do, but it's just all good experience. So I guess when you're starting out, putting yourself out there with internships is a really good idea. And entering writing competitions, I still think it's a really great idea. So that's a way for you to get traction, that's a way for you to put something on your CV. I know The Guardian do this kind of like short fiction fourth estate thing that's like for writers of colour, I think. I haven't entered it, but I've just seen people that have entered it. It's called like Fourth Estate, that's the publication that runs it with The Guardian. But stuff like that, when I see my friends kind of get shortlisted for those writing prizes, like that's something that they can put on their CV, and that's also a confidence boost to them, just to know that their writing's good enough. Because I think when you're on social media and you're constantly blogging, it's great, and it's great if you get traction and you get attention, but if you want a more traditional career, you don't have that feedback when you're on social media all the time. You don't have another editor sort of like fact-checking your work or teaching you how to be stronger, teaching you how to be a better writer. So I definitely say, yeah, don't feel like you have to put all of yourself on social media and you have to constantly promote yourself, because that's not for everybody, and I don't think it needs to be for everybody. I don't think we need to live on social media, and I don't think we need to like have a huge following to be a writer. Like that's just something I've tried to build up on the side, but I've always tried to have like a traditional career and intern first and make contacts like just the normal way. But yeah, I hope that's useful.
What do you do on your
So basically, as opinions editor, I shape and edit all the articles like in my section. So I get emails from young people all the time, writers that want to be an opinion writer, and they'll say, oh, this has happened in the news, and I want to write an opinion piece on why I don't agree with it or why I do agree with it. And then we'll go back and forth and kind of like shape the pitch, and I'll give them feedback, and then I will upload the pitch when it's all done, basically. So I have like different writers doing different pieces for me at the same time, and I have a content calendar which I'll sort of schedule one piece for 1 week, one piece is coming out on Wednesday. I know that this next writer's going to have pieces coming in next Tuesday, so I'm kind of like keeping track of everything that comes my way and commissioning different pieces. And if I want to write pieces as well, I can. I also contribute to other sections of gal-dem, so just with the interview that I did with Nicola Adams, that was really great. And then doing stuff like this has come like through gal-dem. So there's like scope for me to do other things as part of the role, but mainly as an opinions editor or as an editor of a specific section, you just manage that section and you edit and you can write if you want as well. Okay.
Sorry, following on, with opinions, do you ever have to sort of do like sort of work on opinion pieces and you sort of quite strongly disagree with them? What's that sort of like?
I mean, a lot of section editors won't tell you, but the things that they commission are probably the things that they are most interested in themselves. So I try and make sure that I've got like a wide cross-section of voices, so not just women of colour from one specific background, but you know, people from all different walks of life, all different viewpoints. So all of the stuff that I've commissioned, most of the time I've like also really believed in the piece, but I haven't always, I guess, agreed with everything that people have written. Yeah. But it's my job to like fact check and just to make sure that the piece reads well and that it's telling a story and it's got like a strong kind of central thesis. So yeah, I've never come across a piece that I like strongly disagree with, but I think obviously the way that gal-dem works and the kind of people that are pitching to us also, I guess, are aligned with a lot of our views. But that's not the same in every publication, obviously.
You talked a lot about being a brand, and we hear this a lot about authors as a brand. Do you, when you're pitching, are you pitching as Georgina the journalist or Georgina the brand? And how important do you think the brand is?
I guess when you are someone in my position that's worked for publications and has an editorial position, you can be yourself, or you can sort of have the backing of something like gal-dem. So when I went on TV once, it said, you know, Guardian columnist, because that's what I was at the time. But when that column comes to an end, am I still a Guardian columnist, or am I a former Guardian columnist, and, you know, am I just a journalist? Like, that's something that I do think about when I do these things on TV or radio, and they say, oh, like, what's your formal title? I guess I'm just a journalist, but it will change, my personal brand will change depending on, I guess, the people that I'm aligned with. But at the end of the day, I'm always going to be Georgina, that's the journalist, as well as someone that's aligned with all these other brands and publications. I think maybe if I was more on social media and if I was more well known for like being a blogger, then that would be sort of the thing that would follow me everywhere. But I'm kind of not. Like, it's not really that. It's me as a writer, and it's also me kind of writing for other publications and attaching my name to them when I'm with them. But overall, I guess I'm just Georgina the journalist.
We've probably got time for one more, so
What would you say inspires you to write, and how do you like continue writing? Because sometimes I find it really difficult if I've got an idea to like get it down on paper. Like, what inspires you to keep going and like motivates you?
I mean, yeah, that's like the eternal conundrum that every single writer ever has to think about. Yeah, I definitely find motivation really, really hard. I guess staying busy helps me. So working on a book or a book proposal, some people like to have a full-time job, and they like to kind of have things that will also take their mind out of their project. So for me, I think that's something I want to do. So even though I'm not going to be working at Go Think Big, staying with gal-dem and staying sort of in the freelance journalism world is something that will just keep me going, because it's really hard, I think, just to focus on one specific writing project. A lot of the time, me personally, I like to kind of dip in and out of things just to feel like I'm busy and feel like I've got like lots of different projects on the go, but that's not for everybody. So yeah, motivation is so hard. I can't even tell you, like, just knowing, I guess, from your last piece that you've had feedback, or that you've been published somewhere, or that somebody's given you an email saying that they liked your work, that really keeps me going. So I try and like respond to anyone from gal-dem that's like, you know, asking for advice, or anyone that's read my stuff in The Guardian that's like, you know, asking me for tips about some of the stuff I've written. Talking to other people really, really helps, and just asking other people for feedback on your writing when you get stuck. So I have like an agent that will help me with my book proposal, that's really great. But I guess asking someone like Charlie at gal-dem or Liv to read over like a personal project that I'm writing, that also helps. So I think coming out of your head and like speaking to other people can try and give you that boost.
well, I think it's been really, really interesting for us all to hear about Georgina's experience. I think for you particularly, being at the cutting edge with gal-dem and learning about such a wide variety, from Georgina's own experience to the magazine, to branding, and indeed to all the many things. I know some of you are a role model, and I know some of you will come away from this and it'll help you on your own path in journalism, or indeed any other communications. So thank you very much.
Thank you.